Welcome everybody to the Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse podcast.
Truly, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and to be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
Yes, we talk about getting high because there's a little stigma around that, right? So we often talk about things that people don't want to talk about. And the reason is simple. We need to discuss these things to remove the stigma for healing.
Absolutely. And as you know, every Wednesday we have been illuminating nurses. 2021 is the year of the nurse and midwife. And we're truly here to change and highlight cannabis nursing, illuminating cannabis nurses and nursing as we are truly in revolutionary times, where we're changing how we approach and take care of patients. The future of healthcare is patient empowerment.
That it is. And you know what, Sherri? We don't wake up one day and just decide to enter into the cannabis industry. There's usually a compelling story in the background before you take that plunge. So what makes someone enter into the cannabis space as a nurse? Sherri, reintroduce our guest.
I thought you'd never ask. So this will go a lot smoother since I'm not echoing. So anyways, Jessilyn, welcome. Jessilyn Dolan is a registered nurse, certified massage therapist, certified labor doula, and a medical cannabis patient advocate and activist. Her healing journey, recovering from over 3 dozen oral maxillofacial surgeries, blossomed into a passion to help others create their own path to optimal health. Prior to her nursing career, Jessilyn owned and operated her own wellness center. Listen to this: as an herbalist, massage therapist, yoga instructor, hypnobirthing instructor, energy worker, and doula. She co-founded the University of Vermont Medical Center's volunteer Labor Doula program, training hundreds of doulas over the years. And she works as a research nurse at the University of Vermont College of Medicine. Jessilyn is on the board of directors of the American Cannabis Nurses Association, president and founder of the Vermont Cannabis Nurses Association, and vice president of the American Nurse Association of Vermont. What I love about this is Jessilyn co-founded Nurse Grown Organics, a Vermont hemp and CBD company, and she's proud to be Vermont's first clean, green, certified hemp farm, which she's going to share with us all tonight. So Jessilyn, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to dig in.
Jessilyn, you are on the spotlight. We are so glad that you're here. And, you know, it appears to me in hearing your background, you suffer from that same shiny squirrel syndrome that I have, right? It's like something new. You've done so many different things in your lifetime, and you're not done yet. I mean, there's a lot more coming. So excited to have you here. But as I said earlier, we don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis nurse. What's the backstory? How did you get your journey started in this crazy, wonderful, amazing field?
So as Sherri mentioned before, I'm a patient for having been through at least 3 dozen, probably more surgeries than that since childhood. So I was in a motor vehicle accident as a kid, and I was very lucky to have a great grandmother who was into alternative healing already, and parents that I would say were kind of those hippie parents that were more open to alternative medicine. Pharmaceuticals never worked wonderfully well for me. So over the years and over surgeries after surgeries, we realized pharmaceuticals weren't the answer, and always just connected more with naturopathic healing and different healing modalities. So I knew after that, right after high school, I wanted to start studying, and started studying herbology and massage therapy and a lot of alternative therapies kind of as my first career before coming into nursing. So for me, nursing is a second career in a way. I already had 2 children and went back to nursing school to get that nursing degree because I felt like, you know, I needed that real big girl job and all that fun stuff. And actually, you know, it's Year of the Nurse and Midwife, and I swore I was going to be a midwife after being a doula, but missed that patient connection. So labor and delivery nursing was not something I loved because I wanted to connect more with my patients and felt confined by the hospitals and medications and things like that. And then I guess what really spurred me to come back to my childhood and back to herbology as a nurse was working with the specialty, or I guess I specialize in opioid use withdrawal in infants and opioid use disorder with confounding mental health and multi-substance use disorder in pregnancy and parenting. So pretty, specific and tough role, which I loved my families and my babies. But after years of watching us put them on more pharmaceuticals, increasing their methadone, adding more meds, and being told I can't offer them acupuncture, I can't give them essential oils. And then the final straw was actually someone came in with a doctor's recommendation to take CBD. And I had been asking the whole time, what's going to happen when we have someone come in with a card, or this is where medicine's going. And they just did not allow it. So I basically decided to hand in my keys and say, I can't do this anymore, and jumped for it. Within a couple months, we started a hemp farm, and the rest is kind of all her story, right?
That's right.
That's right. Wow, that's awesome. So what I truly love about that is how, okay, so it's really interesting. So you started off in the holistic arts and like truly getting a rich education, and then brought into nursing. It's really funny. And I'm the opposite. I started with nursing, and as my nursing continued, I felt like I really need to incorporate all of these alternative, holistic, complementary therapies to my nursing. So that's what I love about, and Mark's the same way. Mark's just done about everything. So everything, right?
This is the best so far, though. This right here. Yeah.
It really is.
Oh, yeah.
And,
sure.
and what I truly love too is that, you were studying medicinal herbs. And what I find fascinating, and, I'm really into diet, nutrition, herb supplements, the complementary, for the endocannabinoid system. So how does your experience working as an herbalist help you work with cannabis? That's the
it's the same thing. It's plant medicine. I actually just finished up a consult with a patient before this, and that's what I told them. I said, remember, this is just a plant. Take the science out of it. Think about how comfortable you are, because this is somebody that's very comfortable with nature, and take that science and put it aside. And remember, this is herbology. It's just another plant that we've stigmatized and made illegal because a lot of reasons we could get into, right?
Don't get me started now.
Right, exactly. So I feel like herbology basically set the foundation. And luckily, my herbology teacher was open to cannabis, and we did discuss and work with cannabis even in the 90s. So yeah, I feel like everybody that's working with cannabis, even nurses, are mini herbalists. And we all need to respect herbalism and herbalists, because they were the doctors and nurses thousands of years ago, and still sometimes know a lot more than nurses in one realm, because they know how to craft, they know how to trust the body and the patient to take the dose they want and empower themselves, where nurses and doctors say, here's the exact prescription, take it the way I tell you. Don't journal or let me know how you feel, but because this is the standard dose. So herbology to me is the spirit behind cannabis plant medicine, and really what we need as nurses to be very grateful to those herbalists and those witches, that unfortunately got us to where we are. So
love that for sure. So what I like too is, because I'm just going to pick your brain a little bit, is how, like, basically, what are your favorite cannabis and herb combinations?
Yeah,
because,
that's always a great question.
That really turns me on. So I just, just really like, it's just anything that we can put into our bodies that is going to help us to regulate our endocannabinoid system. There's multiple things. And so herbs is one of them. And you being an herbalist, I know for a fact you have your favorite combinations.
Oh, definitely. Actually, it's funny. I posted one today. This is my favorite combo. If I was to pick an essential oil, I would pick frankincense. If I was to pick an herb for a topical, I would pick arnica. So that's my two, I think, favorite combos. Like, that's what's in my balm. That's my topical favorite. And then really, I'm kind of picky as far as what it's for. I can tell you my favorite bedtime herbs. I love valerian. I love kava kava. I love lemon balm. I tend to resonate more with herbs that I can grow and can grow here. So
Mhm.
in Vermont, we don't have the climate that anything and everything grows because it's just a little too cold for that. You know, it's really, you can, but it's not very easy to grow ginger here.
Right.
So I tend to go for herbs that I can actually grow. And what I really like, Sherri, is actually going to your kitchen and finding kitchen herbs. Because not everybody's an herbalist. And when you hear herbs you haven't heard of, it gets a little overwhelming and almost scary. But if you tell someone, hey, take a little rosemary and maybe try a little oregano and do a cup of tea or an herbal steam for congestion, people feel a lot more comfortable with those kitchen herbs than if you tell someone, go try ashwagandha, right? And they haven't heard of that. And then they're saying, all right, what is this language? What are they telling me? So I try again, kind of like I said before, take the science out of it. And what are people comfortable with? They're comfortable with peppermint for a stomach ache. They're comfortable with, you know, like I said, rosemary and the typical eucalyptus, but not everybody wants to try, you know, Don Quai because they've never heard of it. So I really like to go to herbs that are comforting to people and familiar so that they take that fear factor away. Something we say in the herbal world a bunch is CBD is the gateway to chamomile. A lot of people won't even try chamomile, but now that CBD is so popular, it's opening people's eyes to say, oh, wow, I can try something else. So in that way, I call cannabis a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug to herbalism and natural healing, because now CBD is at the gas station, so everybody's willing to try it, but they weren't willing to try a cup of chamomile for bedtime or a cup of peppermint tea for a stomach ache, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. And I truly, you know, when we teach too, when we're doing consultations and education with patients, we do look at all of the different terpenes that exist in nature. And we're able to educate them on how to just incorporate those things, you know, to the regular natural plants and herbs and vegetables, so, you know, things that are there that they can truly incorporate into their life, and then how to match those terpenes with different cannabinoids, you know, and really getting people to pay attention, like you said, to their body.
I recently had a pediatric client, well, the mom talking to the parent, and they said, well, you know, what terpenes are, well, they didn't ask. I educated them on what terpenes were. And I said, you know, I think linalool and limonene would be a great combination, but that's hard to find in a CBD product. And we were working more with hemp for this pediatrics. So I said, let's get some hemp oil and put that in and make some lavender lemon bars. And that was a great way for a kid to have their medicine in a really yummy treat that also has all those terpenes that we're bringing in from other plants, because we didn't have them available in that, you know, hemp strain that we were working with.
So that's just amazing. There you go. That is the art and science of nursing, right? That's magnificent. I love that. We're being able to custom, you know, here it is we source out what patients want and need, and we bring that to them as nurses.
That's right.
Really good stuff. So storytelling, you hear Mark and I tell stories all the time, you know, patient stories help to decrease stigma, and they can truly be powerful tools for those people that are reluctant to even listen. So I know that you have a lot of stories, but I want you to share the most powerful caregiving experience that you've had with a client, a friend, or a family member.
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know you got a few.
I know, they're all so good, right?
You can do one story for me and one story for Mark. How's that?
You know, I'll tell one story because I have permission to share this story. It's my mother, who was on prescribed opioids for at least 10, if not 12 years. And when I say that, we're talking morphine and fentanyl patches and Percocet and Xanax, to the point that, you know, life wasn't really functioning well. It took about 6 months, but we got her completely off all those medications, just using one-to-one, so a combination of hemp and THC cannabis combined. And within 6 months to a year, she went from not driving and sweating and shaking and being gray all the time to driving again. And my kids got to watch this. And my kids helped me, you know, with a lot of the farming and a lot of the processing. And I joke around, but I think they could take a plant and grow it from scratch and make FICO and turn it into a gummy because they know so much at this point. But it's really nice to see and support my own family to go through that, and for my kids to watch that and that be their experience of cannabis medicine as kids.
Right.
that's really, really important for kids to see it being used in a way that is helping to improve people's quality of life.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And my own two kids, they truly didn't understand cannabis until I started doing it all the time. And then I had to educate them, here, mom's got my kitchen. I was a kitchen witch trying to figure it all out, reading, studying, experimenting. I'm a researcher. And they're like looking at me like, I said, listen, I'm out of bed. I'm functioning. I'm going to figure this out. And so it was interesting. And I share this, when I created the Green Nurse patient handbook, I educated my children on it. And I said, can you guys evaluate this for me? And then afterwards I said, guys, what do you think about mom being a medical marijuana nurse? They go, marijuana and cannabis is the same thing. Right.
A lot of people don't know that, Sherri.
No. So they truly, the education that they were provided was not the accurate education. It was completely outdated. And so it was very interesting in how they were able to see me transform my life from literally bedridden to now here I am with you all, telling stories. Right.
You've got a great one.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. So we are all big fans of growing your own cannabis.
Huge fans of growing your own medicine, right? So what have you learned? Share some of the stuff that you've learned, Jessilyn, through your cultivation. I mean, you're not a small grow. I mean,
No. We actually joke around that we should write a book on everything that you can and will do wrong, because we made every mistake out there. From the first label we printed, thousands of labels of several products, we spelled cannabidiol wrong, and we created cannabidiol, a whole new cannabinoid on our own, right?
I have a similar label story, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
we've made every mistake out there. I do feel pretty lucky as a grower. I feel like I've been growing for a very long time and didn't have a lot of setbacks or mistakes. And then I added hemp outdoor farming to my game, and that changed everything. All of a sudden, I knew how to deal with spider mites and aphids, and wow, powdery mildew does happen in Vermont. I went from a culture of growing inside for years, very regulated environment, to now I have a farm, and I also grow right outside my house. I have my farm and then a bunch of plants right outside my house. And when you have in and out airflow, you can bring in some of the bugs from outside. So that was a whole new learning curve for me. So I spent a year like, okay, now I'm going to learn I've heard people talk about bugs and this and that indoors, but I never had to deal with them much. Luckily, so I think that was one of my biggest learning curves and lessons, was the difference in going outdoor to multiple, dozens, if not hundreds of plants, compared to growing a smaller number inside in a regulated environment. So that was interesting.
So a lot more variables then, right? Unpredictable variables.
Nature, Mother Nature at her finest.
Oh yeah, Mother Nature at her finest for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what is CG? Clean Green.
Oh, Clean Green. Yeah. So Clean Green is the largest third-party national certifying body for the cannabis industry. Out here on the East Coast, not a lot of people know of it. Typically, when you talk to someone on the West Coast that's a proponent for clean organic cannabis, they have heard of and know what Clean Green is. So the guy who started Clean Green actually worked for the USDA organic program, and he is still the auditor of, I believe, if I'm saying it right, he audits some of the inspectors. So he really knows his stuff. And he basically stepped away saying, hey, we need to do something better in the cannabis industry. So he put together this program. And the reason I love it so much is it's way more than just a national organic program. Every year we have to reduce our carbon footprint by at least 10% with a goal of getting to a zero net carbon footprint. We have to prove that we're paying any of our farm hands a livable, fair wage, because that's always a concern in the farming industry. We do soil testing. When you look at the National Organic Program, on average, they test 5% of their farm soils. Clean Green tests 100% of their farm soil testing. So some big differences. Clean Green also mandates you have washable, non-porous drying surfaces, where for an organic stamp, and this is hemp because we can't certify organic cannabis because of federal regulations.
Right.
But hemp clean green certified can be dried in a moldy old barn, according to the USDA National Organic Program. So I should have explained that. Clean green also certifies THC marijuana. And actually about 95% of clean green is THC marijuana cannabis. A small part of that is hemp. So we also wanted to be involved with clean green right from the get-go, not only for all the other awesome things that we're doing that we feel, are so important, but also because we do want to get into that marijuana cannabis THC space. And clean green can step in and does certify dispensaries and facilities and products to say, yes, this has met the entire process through and through, to show you that you're doing everything as organically, but also as sustainably as possible. We look at our carbon footprint for our beeswax. We look at our packaging to make sure our packaging is biodegradable and sustainable when we can. It isn't always, right? So it takes that extra step for me and just feels so much better. I look at that USDA organic stamp as a stamp. It's paperwork you fill out, you put some words in there, maybe 5% of people, will get tested or random inspections is my understanding. I can't quote, all those numbers exactly. But I feel really good to say we're clean green, which is a step above and beyond.
Clean, green, nurse grown organics for the win. So why did you start Nurse Grown Organics? I mean,
I never wanted to. I never planned to. I actually had hoped to just grow hemp and sell it to some little herbalists in places that would do great things with it. But what I found was no one was meeting those high quality standards that I had. So as an herbalist, I'm pretty specific how I want things done. I want it whole plant. I want it rooted in herbalism. I'm not that person that's into the nanotechnology or the PhD that you need to run a CO2 machine. I strongly believe in ethanol extraction, organic ethanol extraction, because we've been doing that for thousands of years. That's where medicine started. So for me, the herbal aspect, and then adding that nurse research component and realizing, when it really comes down to it, clean green is great, but what do I need to see? I need full panel lab testing. So with that, I don't care. I mean, I do, what the CBD and THC percentage is, but the overall idea is we're going to start slow, right? So to me, what's more important is testing for all that junk we don't want in it, which is the heavy metals, the pesticides, the molds and mildews, the mycotoxins, which can be a danger to our health. And I searched and searched, and I could not find product that was transparent with that lab testing to make me feel comfortable to give it to, at that time, I wanted to give it to my child and my mom and recommend it to other healthcare providers, but I couldn't recommend something that I couldn't trust. So that's why we joke around, but our slogan is, Nurse Grown Organics, cannabis products you can trust, which is so important. And if it doesn't have that lab testing and that transparency, to me, I'm just not comfortable using that. And I also worry that that's going to add to the stigma of this plant, because long-term repercussions will happen when people are taking not clean products that are full of mold or heavy metals. We will eventually see issues like that, is my concern. And then we're just going to go backwards from all the awesome work we've done to get to the point where we are by helping to break this stigma and making cannabis more of a respected and viable option in the healthcare community.
Right. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. So you're in Vermont. So just for people that, because we interview nurses all over the country. So what is the Vermont law? Just for our new viewers that are
What's your legal status, Jessilyn?
For marijuana?
Yeah, for marijuana, hemp, the program. So we're teaching about the National Council of State Boards of Nursing and how nurses must, have knowledge of, the federal laws and then also their state laws.
Yeah.
What's going on in Vermont?
So we are working on, and I hope by the end of this year to have published a Vermont state nursing position paper. We don't have one yet, so that will help define nurses' scope of practice working with patients and consulting, but also help to protect the nurse that's a medical cannabis patient. So that's something we're working on. We don't have that yet. Our medical program, to put it politely, is an absolute joke. It requires no lab testing beyond in-house cannabinoid testing only, and in-house is always subject to bias and, errors that are unfortunately maybe on purpose. So they've also had several reports and people come forward with mold and mildew issues. So unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I'm not a big proponent of the Vermont medical marijuana dispensaries. I tend to encourage and help people learn to grow themselves or connect them with someone that can help them and maybe be their caregiver. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, in Vermont, we also only have one patient we are allowed to caregive for. So as a patient myself, I'm allowed to have 2 mature flowering plants and 2 mature flowering plants as a caregiver. So my number is 4. Some people stretch it. We say we can stretch it to 5 with a recent language that came out, which is a little subject to different interpretation. So basically I get 4 big plants. I grow plants as big as I can. My goal is to get 1 pound a plant. And usually I can do that a lot of the times. So 4 plants is pretty much my max. We do have a bill right now in session looking to increase the plant count for patients and looking to increase the patient count for caregivers.
Yep, that passed in Massachusetts just recently, which was great.
Yeah, because our numbers aren't good. We've recently passed a adult use tax and regulate bill, and in about 2 years, that's going to come online. But unfortunately, same thing, there's a lot of not so great stuff with the bill, and they're looking to take over the medical program through this tax and regulate system of, I guess, governing ship that they're creating. Mm-hmm. And there's really nothing protecting the patients right now. They want concentrates not above 60%. They don't want edibles above 5 milligrams. And for patients, that's just not going to suffice.
It's not going to cut it.
It's not. So I've become quite politically active and am really working with legislators. And as the Vermont Nurse Association, I'm the chair of the Government Affairs Committee, hopefully meeting with Bernie at the end of April. And with that, I really get to, I guess, advocate and almost lobby that I'm not a lobbyist, put that out there, but be that representative and that spokesperson to talk to them and explain and try to make some changes. So I'm hopeful we'll have some changes this year. I'm not going to say that they're actually going to go through. Our program's been around for a while and does not have a great reputation. So we'll continue to educate people and try to get people to grow. The Vermont Cannabis Nurses, part of the reason I founded it and a lot of what we do is gifting cannabis.
I know. I love that. I absolutely think that's amazing. We need to be doing more of that. For sure. And hopefully we'll see that here in Massachusetts. Mark and I founded the Massachusetts Cannabis Nurses Association. So it isn't, it's just in the works, but truly, I can see us all coming together. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to give out cannabis to patients in need, truly.
Right.
It's great.
And I feel very lucky. We have a supportive cannabis community. So every spring I have several people that will let me plant on their own property and grow the plants out. And then we can get them back to dole out to patients. I just today had someone reach out with a bunch of clones to start giving out. This weekend, we have, I think, 18 patients lined up to each get a half ounce. So I feel really lucky that it's also a community of Vermonters that are doing this together.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
So Jessilyn, what direction is Nurse Grown Organics headed in? What direction are you headed in? What's happening? What's your vision for the future? What are you manifesting?
I'm not a business person and I never have been. Nurse Grown Organics was never something we planned to do. It kind of came forth out of the lack of trust and ability to find products to recommend to people. And then I laugh, but the truth is we opened up about a month later. I had a nurse contact me. I think you guys know Jamie Rollins. And she said to me, she said, I want to be an affiliate. And I said, what the hell is an affiliate? So I looked into it, and our business model, not necessarily business plan, it's just how this organically happened, is to work with individual nurses and have those nurses recommend our product, and then they get commission off any sales. And the idea of that is to have people that have support rather than going into a gas station and buying the cheaper or the prettier bottle. So that's pretty much the business model. My business coach laughs at me and says it's definitely not the quickest and most lucrative way, but it's definitely probably the most ethical and educational, and hopefully in the long run will work. But with that being said, the political aspect is something I'm really resonating with lately, and definitely diving deep into that and hope to continue to grow with that. I feel very lucky and almost like I have to right now, as board of directors of ACNA and as Vermont vice president of the American Nurse Association, I have that unique ability right now that people will actually listen to me and let me testify. So I need to speak up. So that's part of my personal goal this year, is to start speaking up, sharing my story more, because I rarely talk about being a patient, because at the state level, as a educator for opioid withdrawal and newborns, it wasn't something that was really appropriate to talk about.
Right.
So now I'm starting to talk and be more vocal. And the big plan is within 2 years, we hope to open a cultivation adult use, both facility for cultivation and dispensary. So that is definitely the direction we are trying to head.
Awesome.
I am just blown away. I just want to say you are doing amazing things in the cannabis space as a cannabis nurse. It's been truly a pleasure to illuminate you, truly bringing hope and inspiration for growth and healing. For sure. Cannabis nurses rule. So how can our viewers find you?
My website is nursegrown.com. My email is nurse@nursegrown.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm newer to social media, so I'm not the best as far as IT, and sometimes can't find that I even got messages. So, but I'm learning a lot and definitely growing, which is exciting. So yeah.
So for our viewers, all of the information that Jessilyn just talked about, I'm going to put in, I'm going to go back and fill in the blanks.
Add it to the notes, right?
Add it to the notes to make sure you all can get in touch with her.
Yes.
Well, and I wanted to welcome you guys as well, because Green Nurses are coming on as nurse affiliates.
We are to our
team.
Absolutely. We are part of the team. And you know, what's really great about that too, is that nurses are coming together. We are truly, a nice sisterhood of educating, and we support one another, and we want what's best for our patients. Truly that's what we want to do.
Am I one of the sisters, Sherri?
We're a family.
Can I be one of the sisters in the sisterhood? Am I outside the ring again? What?
I know.
You meant family.
I know.
Yeah.
You're my work husband, Mark. We're related. So.
That's right. Thanks, Sherri. Thanks.
No, I'm blushing. Oh, I know. I forget that there's guys too, right?
There are. Yeah. 7% of the nursing population. We're a minority in there, but.
And there's non-binary, and there's people that use different pronouns. So, again,
we have a whole rainbow of people.
I'm going to say the community of nurses with whatever gender you associate with. You're welcome. So, Jessilyn, this has been an honor to have you on. We're really looking forward to do more work with you. And any last words for our viewers?
Who, me? Oh.
Yeah, you.
I appreciate you all. So thank you for taking this journey with me, and all ships rise together. So here we go.
Here we go.
Excellent. And
thanks, Jessilyn.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Mark, what kind of a night are we going to have tonight?
After the breath work I did today, I'm having an AFA day and an AFA night. And Sherri, what's it all about, Sherri?
Oh gosh, it's always about living your best life.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m.
8 a.m.